Welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville. Today is not the video you were going to get. You were going to get probably the greatest piece of YouTube theatre ever put forward. What I had developed was, and what I performed was around about 25 minutes of pure genius as I presented my collection of 5 vintage Alpinas from the 1970s, what I call the lost years. Unfortunately, after about 2 hours of filming, I took the video card out, put it in my computer, and realized that somewhere along the way I had joggled the ISO control of my camera and everything was pitch black. I will pick myself up and do that video again one day. But it won't be tonight. What I'm going to talk about tonight very quickly is a topic which a few people, John P covered today. The guys Rick and Rick at Scottish Watches have covered a lot better in a lot more detail. And that is the withdrawal of the Tag Heuer isograph from sale. Okay, some quick history. Okay, first thing I should really say, in case you haven't noticed, the Tag Heuer the Autavia isograph is no longer for sale. It's been removed. You can go searching and people have done the whole theatrical look here, it's not there. Okay, it's not there, it's gone. Rick and Ricky on Scottish Watches first mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't really pay too much attention. I wasn't going to buy the watch, I didn't really care, and to be honest, I kind of put it in the conspiracy theory bucket. Curiously, that afternoon, I actually went to a motor show, Motor Classica in Melbourne. Great show, fantastic. I'll put some pictures up of some of the cars. It's probably more interesting than just looking at my face. And it just so happened that one of the sponsors there was Tag, and they had a display set up with some cars and some watches. And wouldn't you know, funnily enough, for someone who has a YouTube channel, I'm a bit socially awkward when it comes to just walking up to complete strangers and asking them questions like, hey, I understand you completely screwed up one of your watches. Has it been withdrawn or something? But I made myself do it. I walked straight up to the guy, hoping that he would know something, and I just said, I noticed that in your collection there's none of the new isograph models. I have heard they've been withdrawn. Is there a problem? And he just looked me straight down the eye and he said, yeah, there is. There seems to be a problem with the isograph movement. We've been told we're getting no more shipments. And I said, given that the only thing that really changed was the carbon hairspring, I'm guessing it was something to do with that. And he said, yes, as a matter of fact, it was. He didn't have the full story, but he told me what he knew. He said, from what he understands, there seems to be some sort of problem integrating that carbon hairspring into the third-party Sellita movement, that they were getting some kind of problems. To his knowledge, it wasn't a problem with any watch that made it into the field, but they seemed to have a problem getting out of the factory. So he'd been told they weren't getting any more. I didn't think too much more of it. That seemed fairly sensible. I didn't worry about it. I moved on. I exchanged some emails backwards and forwards with the guys from Scottish Watches. They confirmed that they'd heard something similar from their source, and in their last podcast, they tackled this with a bit more detail and said they've received some more insight. And the problem seems to be that there's an adhesion issue, and the adhesive that they're using to affix the carbon hairspring to what is probably a steel component within the Sellita movement is not working. And the result seems to be that they're routinely failing the chronometer testing. And since the whole point of this watch was to be a chronometer, if they don't come out of the chronometer testing as a pass, they're a fail. You bin the movement, start all over again. That's clearly not something you want to do. So where are we? It would appear as though there is no mention of a recall. There doesn't seem to be any effort to reach out. If you have an isograph and if you've received something from Tag asking them to send it back in, let me know. But I haven't seen anything anywhere, and no one's talking about this being a recall. No one's saying that the watches that left the factory are in any way faulty. This seems to be a problem of yield, much like a computer chip, much like a lot of these high-tech technologies. TAG is simply finding that they can't get the yield out of the factory that makes the whole thing economical. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, my little bit of experience dealing with carbon fiber and composite materials using for aircraft repairs tells me that actually these sorts of adhesion issues between carbon and a metallic substrate are actually really common. So I'm not really that surprised. Doing it on something so small where the your ability to properly cure the carbon and cure the adhesive actually doesn't catch me as a surprise. I should also say that the guy I was talking to from TAG was saying that there doesn't seem to be anything inherently wrong with the technology, that this carbon technology is used in a number of other parts in a number of other watches. Those are unaffected. It seems to be purely sort of constrained to, in his, what he told me was it's purely constrained to the interface between this technology and the third party movement, where they couldn't control the other side of the interface. Again, unsurprising. So the upshot is, how do I feel about all this? What's my takeaway? Is this a chance to throw a rock at TAG? I don't think so. This is me, okay? I think kudos to TAG. Good on you for having a red hot go at introducing a technology that didn't quite work. Good on you for not pursuing the rabbit to your own demise, that you realize that it wasn't going to work and pull out. Good on you for not screwing up your customers. I don't see a problem here. You tried to do something new. You tried to bring something new to the market at an affordable price point. It didn't work. You withdrew the product. That's fine. That's good. That's to be applauded. After all, it's not like you tried to come up with a fairly standard movement that's got like a date complication that people have mastered for like the best part of half a century and cock that up. I mean, now that would be embarrassing. That's a reason to get really upset. But trying to bring in a whole new technology and have it not quite work in a way that never actually made it to a customer is fine. It's even praiseworthy. So, you know what? Bad luck, TAG. Good luck for your future endeavors. I hope it works out. The carbon hairspring actually promises a whole lot of benefits to us in the consumer world, and I'd love to see it work better in future. So that's my take on it. What's your take? What do you think? Should TAG be hung, drawn and quartered? Should they be stoned? Should they be pilloried for this? Or should they actually be applauded, as I am doing? I think this is a great endeavor. Didn't quite work, but no harm, no foul. What are your thoughts? I've been Pete McConville. This is Not So Obvious Watches. If you wait a little while, the card's going to come up. It's got my Instagram handle on it and my email account. I'm not wearing a watch because it was supposed to be one of these. But if you want to see what kind of watches I do own and what sort of watches I routinely wear, go check me out on Instagram. I've also got give me a follow there. I should try and build up my followers there, shouldn't I? And also there's an email address. So if you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me on that email. Thanks very much, and I'll see you later. Bye.